Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey everybody, guys and gals, we're back again. I'm in my trailer I'm in my new trailer now, down in Pahrump, and I'm set up enough that I can at least start doing some podcasts again. And Marshall actually texted me the other day, so today we're having Marshall. And I actually talked to Jimmy Kolb the other day, and we're going to try to schedule another one with him too coming up.
Nice.
And then there's always people I follow on the internet, and I'm like, man, I wonder if they'd be on my podcast. So every now and then I just pull random people in, and luckily I have never had anyone actually say no. Well, no, I had one person say no, but that was just because he won't do like this sort of stuff anymore.
Do you want to get paid for it, or?
No, he just does not want anything to do with social media, basically.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
No, I kind of respect that.
Mm.
I can deal with it. So here's the funny thing is that you can't see it, but I have Marshall's shirt on and Marshall has my shirt on.
We didn't coordinate that.
No, a total accident. So kind of Marshall's Instagram is great. Sometimes he does long-winded posts like I do that are like 5 freaking minutes long, but it's always really good stuff. And I've been following along with you, and one of the questions I had for you was losing size and kind of like why did you decide to do that totally, and how is that process going? Because I know when I kind of decided, like, listen, I just keep getting injured. I need to get my mental health straight. I got to drop some weight. It wasn't like this huge major deal to me, but there was definitely a point where I'm like, man, I work so hard to be 385. I work so hard to be that strong. And like, there's still this part of my brain that didn't want to let go of it. Do you have any of that?
I mean, not really anymore, because probably the major driving force for wanting to lose the weight was I just want to live as long as I can, and carrying around all that weight. I just want to be as healthy as I can. I want to be, when I die, I want to be wiping my own ass. When I die, I want to be mowing my own yard. I want to be completely self-sufficient when I die. It's terrifying for me to think about somebody taking care of me when I die. It's terrifying thinking that I won't be around for my daughter when she's an adult or has kids. So the initial kind of driving force was I just want to be healthy, and I got as big as I was. I think 320 was as big as I was at my biggest, but I got as big as I was for powerlifting, and powerlifting is basically over for me. So what is the point of having all that size? And also, to be honest, I don't like the way I look. Like, I don't like when I see myself, I don't like the way my body looks. And I just would like just to be a little leaner. You know what I mean? I just don't like the way I look.
You did start as a bodybuilder.
Yeah. I've got the body dysmorphia for sure. Yeah. So yeah, my goal right now is to get to 240. I kind of started dieting about 3 weeks ago. And I started at 251. And basically when I kind of start to lose weight, just like I did last time, for me, it's just carbs. It's just dropping carbs and moving a lot more. So I made it a goal to, I started with like the standard, 10,000 steps a day that everybody's heard of. But what you don't realize is that's like 5.7 miles. So if you're getting 10,000 steps a day and if you're walking 5 miles a day, there's no way you're not going to burn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hate steps. Hate it. My client's like, I did this many steps. I'm like, I don't give a shit how many steps you did. I want you walking 4 miles every day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about your steps. Why can't we just record it in miles?
Yes,
So
I didn't know that till I looked it up. So maybe, yeah, my app will tell me how many steps, but it'll also say how many miles. So that's it's encouraging because, if you just say 10,000 steps, so what does that mean? But if you think of it, that's I think it was like 5.7 miles, give or take, your stride or whatever. That's, if you tell somebody, hey, you walked 5 miles today, that's
well,
encouraging.
I
You know
think
what I
it
mean?
gives you, like, I can't think of the word, but like it gives you something you can picture it.
Mhm.
You can't really picture 10,000 steps. You can
No.
go, dude, I know that place is that many miles from here. I walked all that way and back today.
Yeah, and it gives me just something to gauge because now I'll walk 10 minutes after every time I eat, and then now as the weeks go by, it gets to where, do I have 10 minutes in between, this job? I'm gonna go walk for 10 minutes. So now
Mm-hmm.
it went from walking, 3 or 4 times a day for 10 minutes to, 5, 6, 7. I'm almost up to 20,000 steps a day. Like, that stuff just snowballs, you know what I mean? Like, when you start to slowly see results, that stuff just snowballs, and then you want to do more because the results you see are giving you what you want. So that's just one of the kind of small metrics that I have. And then, being that it's summertime now, I love doing sled work outside. I love carrying things outside, so I'm spending a lot time outside doing that too.
Well, if you watch my videos, I've been pretty
Yeah, you've
much.
been doing like the push-ups on the tire,
I
in
went
between the tire
to
and the thing,
I
and
went to the local gym here, and I was like, dude, this sucks. This sucks
Mhm.
bad. And all the bars, there's no knurling in the bars. All the equipment shit. The benches are slipperier than snot. Their height is all low, and I'm just like, this sucks, man. So I'm like, I put my big tire already on the land. I have a couple, like, I don't know what they're the smaller kegs, but they're full. I mean, they're full of sand and as much shit as I could pack in there. And I got a bunch of rocks, and I got tires to
doing some stone
drag
throwing. Yeah.
and stones, and I'm like, I can think of a lot of shit I can do right here. And I have a couple of big steel plates that I think were 200 and 300 pounds. So I'm doing like some Husafell stone stuff, and like, dude, if I bend over and grab that plate and do a row with it, that works. And so
We
yeah,
grew, we grew
being
up
on the
watching
fun's
rock.
cool, but it's like right now it's hot. I'm still trying to get used to the heat.
We grew up watching Rocky, so you go outside and do like a Rocky workout outside. That just
Yeah,
it's
especially when they
it's
did that where he
exhilarating.
went to Russia and he trained out in the
Yeah,
barn and stuff. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, this is actually kind of cool and it's kind of fun just to see what
hmm
I can come up with and do.
yeah.
I think that's one of the things kind of going along with what we were talking about different training, different types of people and stuff. And, if you have the people that are like, hey, I just want to get in shape. And they're like, oh, they hire you because they think it's like this huge complicated thing. And I think we kind of have there's a part of us that wants to show the knowledge that we have. But it's like, for us, that getting in shape is not hard. It's easy. Like, and it's like, dude, you literally, if you had a bunch of shit in your yard, you literally could get in shape.
And we all know what to do to lose weight. We all know that we have to move more and we have to eat less or we have to eat better. Everybody knows that. Every person
Mm-hmm.
on the planet knows that. But it's just a matter of doing it and being consistent. So
Yeah.
you don't need a coach for that. You just move more and eat less. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I mean, it is,
But
there's a
that's
lot of stuff that we do that's really pretty simple. I mean, like for me at this point, the fun part is when you have, going from 30% body fat to 20%, it's not that hard. You got somebody that wants to get under single digits, it becomes a different game. You got somebody that benches 200 pounds and wants to bench more. You're like, okay, yeah, that's easy enough. You got somebody who wants to bench, 6 or 7. That's a little more complicated. And
oh yeah.
I think people try to jump to that complication. It's like, no, just start down here. And I know in powerlifting, I've seen a lot of people do this. They see some huge, great lifter, so they want to do what that huge, great lifter is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that lifter didn't get where he's at by doing what he's doing now.
No.
Like what he did in the beginning is totally different than what he's doing now because it changed as he went. So like if you like that guy and you think he's a great lifter, try to find out how he started. what he was doing when he was at your strength level. What was your biggest, what did you weigh in? What was the biggest you weighed in?
318 was the most I weighed in at.
And what are you now,
Still,
right now?
still 60 pounds shy of you at your biggest.
Yeah, I was going to say right now I'm down to like, I'm under 300.
Oh, nice.
And I was through this whole move and everything. I'm like, I cannot get over 300. Like, I got to stay under 300. If I can get through all of this and stay under 300, dropping another 30 when I'm settled in will be easy.
I'm at 249 right now. When I started, I was 251 when I started, and I'm 249 now. And it's just that whole, just trying to figure out how many carbs I can have, how many carbs I can't have. If I go too low carb, my workouts suck. You know, if I do go too high carbs, I'm just kind of, I'm in that stupid lull where you're trying to figure out what you can and can't get away with. And unfortunately, I always err on the side of too extreme and try to go too low carbs. And it takes a couple of weeks for me to realize, it is okay to have some more and then just do more physically. But I get caught in that trap at the beginning, trying to go too extreme.
I think that though, I think that's our nature. I think that's what allowed us to actually be so good at lifting. But I think it says something for, there's a shit ton of different programs out there. There's a shit ton of different diets out there. The toughest part is finding the one that works for you. And part of that is the one that you like. Mm-hmm. Like, I know guys that I've tried to do the whole just protein keto deal, and my sleep's bad. My sleep's fucking horrible on that. Like, horrible. So I tried it and I go, okay, I'll stick with it. And I stuck with it. And it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this. Like, that's not good for me. But I know people that do that, and man, they lean out and they're in great shape and they don't have energy issues. And then you hear guys high carbs, low carbs, and like, the nutrition thing's funny. I actually had a client one time who he's like, all right, I want you to, because I prefer to just help them with their lifting. And then if it's just about losing weight, I'll help with the diet. If it's a competitor, I'm like, if you know people that are really good at your pre-competition diet, why don't you see them for the diet and I'll keep helping you with your training? Because look at me, it's not my specialty. Like, I've never done a bodybuilding show. I've never pushed myself that far. But I had a client like, all right, I want you to start doing my nutrition. I'm like, so I started asking him questions. And I'm like, well, what kind of food do you like to eat? Like, what things have you tried in the past that work for you? He's like, God damn it, just give me a diet. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. And he's like, yeah, just give me a diet. And I go, all right, shut the fuck up and go home. Okay, just go home. And he went home and I wrote down like 4 different diets. And I sent them all to him and I go, here's why I ask questions. Because these are all diets that I know people who either recommend this diet or have done awesome on this diet. And they're 4 completely different diets, but everybody has done well on them and had clients do well on them. Mm-hmm. So for me, there's a big click in here that goes, what diet can I get him that he's going to stick to? Mm-hmm. Like, sure. Like, I mean, really, you can take an old school mentality and go, it's calories in, calories out. But I mean, I'd like to go, if they don't like it, if they hate it, they're not going to stick to it. Even if that's the absolute best diet, I would rather give them maybe one that's maybe not quite as good, but they like it, because then they're going to stick to it. And in the long run, that's going to be the best diet for them.
I am partial to a little looser diet because I am willing to work more if I allow myself to eat more or eat something I'm not supposed to have. I am all for doing a lot more work that day to work off. And I'm not saying that's how it always is, but I'm usually pretty strict about it. But if there's, on the weekends, if I want to eat something, I'll just burn more calories. I work a little bit better with that leniency. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
And the thing is, I'm big into like the punishment type thing. I respond well to, if you fuck up, you got to take care of it. You know what I mean? I respond well to the punishment type deal. Not many people do nowadays anymore, but.
It was funny. I watched that boxing movie. What is it called? you got to bleed or you're going to bleed or something like that. And the boxer, it's actually a true story. I can't remember his name though. The kid wins the world championship and he gets in a car wreck and breaks his neck and then comes back. But there's a scene where his coach is like, all right, stop, man. Like, stop. And he actually grabs the bag and he's like, why don't you listen to me? And he's like, well, I don't mind the pain. I just keep going. And he's like, yeah, I don't care if you mind it or not. Like, there's an intelligent way to do this.
Yeah.
Like, just because you can push through it doesn't mean you have to or should.
Yeah.
And that was a hard lesson for me to learn in powerlifting and everything, is it's not really about how hard you go, but I mean, I think there's times where you have to go that hard. So it's good to be able to do that, and to be able to suck that up.
Yeah. There's there's a cool quote. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom, because you don't know what's enough until you know what's more than enough. Yeah. And if you don't cross that line, you don't know where the line is. You don't know what you're capable of. But the other twist side of that is, where the line is, you got to have the intelligence to quit going past it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's hard. That's hard to do. Like, I would rather overshoot than undershoot.
Because I watched that movie yesterday today I went to do my hikes and then did some shoulder rock stuff. But I have this, where I live, like right behind my land, there's this plateau. And so it goes up on this plateau, but then it cuts in and back and forth, and these are all canyons. So I'll come up to this one, and I'll run down the canyon, run back up, walk across, run down, run back up. And I started thinking about that movie as I'm running, because it's like I'm sucking wind, and my legs are burning, and my glutes are burning, and like I just kind of keep going. And I don't ever stop and go, well, is that good enough for today, Chad? What was your goal when you came here? And I'm like, I don't know, to run for an hour. Like, that was my goal.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the quote, lazy people do a little and think they should be winning, and people who work hard, work as hard as they can and always think they're not doing enough? You know what I mean?
I think that's a tricky thing, though. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that's going to make you super great at what you do, is finding that, knowing that ability, knowing you can push there and get there, and knowing there's going to be times to get there. Like, that's why I love HIIT training, because it's like, okay, you don't have to be in the gym all day, but when you are in the gym, you got to be going full bore. And I like that idea.
I think it's a necessary phase of a lifter, of an athlete. It's a necessary phase. I don't know how long it should last, but I honestly think each lifter athlete needs to go to that phase where they are destroying themselves. And then eventually, as I did, and I don't know if you did it too, but I went through that phase, but then I fine-tuned everything. Like, I scraped as much as I could out of the barrel to get everything I possibly could at it, at the expense of my body. But then once, I took everything out, then you sculpt, then you fine tune everything. But I don't think that you're going to get to the highest level without that phase at some point in your career.
I completely agree. And I think that goes in almost any sport. I mean, you go back to high school football when you're doing two-a-days, and it's like the coach is just trying to see who's going to stay. And but you find out how hard you can push yourself. And even in lifting, when you're a young lifter, you don't have the technique. You don't have the central nervous system skill to actually push your body. You think you're pushing yourself hard, but you're really not. So overtraining is not even something you really got to necessarily worry about at that point. So you should go in there and you should push as hard as you can, and find out what you're made of and find out how hard you can push. And then at some point in your career, there's going to be a point where you're going to be like, hey, I'm doing really good. Maybe I need to put some focus into what's happening outside the gym as much as I am inside the gym. And start working with your recovery. But I mean, you and I both know you're not going to put 1,100 pounds in your back, and I don't care how strong you are, 1,100 pounds is never going to feel good. Like when you say, "Oh, I felt good," it was like, dude, it moved quick, and I stood up with it. That's good. Like your spine's still smashed, your knees were still not necessarily hurting, but I mean, I actually had one judge, or not a judge, but a spotter who he ran some meets in California and stuff, and he said one time, he goes, "Dude, do you realize the noises your body makes when you're doing that?" He goes, "I've been behind you with 11 and 1,200 pounds," and he goes, "It's just weird. Like there's just weird noises coming from your body."
It's actually in terms of coaching, I have no problem with putting myself in danger, doing stupid shit, overtraining, but as a coach, I really struggle with but putting a lifter through that, because if I train like a jackass and I hurt myself, I hurt myself. But if I try to give somebody the opportunity to overtrain and really find out what they have inside of them to get to the next level, if I hurt them, that's I would just feel awful and terrible. But it's this weird double-edged sword, because they have to find that at some point. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to, if you ever, and we're talking power lifters and like strongmen and stuff now, if you ever really want to find that level and reach that level for yourself, you have to get to the point where I don't want to say you're never scared, but where that doesn't bother you. Where you almost,
I was never scared.
I tell people all the time, I go, do you think when they're wrapping my knees, there wasn't a flash through my head or a thought of like, dude, this is 1,100 pounds. Like if I could just get loose, or I just let go, or like something happens, like I could get seriously hurt. And then you just go, yeah, so what? Out of my mind. Like that's not what I'm going to do up here. I'm going to get this weight. And like you have to be willing to go past that, and you're going to pick it up. And, a weight like that, you're going to start standing up, and it's not going to move, 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 because your back is squishing and the bar is bending, and then all of a sudden it's going to pop up. And like, that's not the most comfortable feeling in the world.
Yeah. Or I also struggle with, let's just example, go outside, you're going to do sled pulls. You're going to do 4 trips at 30 yards or 4 trips to 50 yards. I want you to find a challenging weight for that. And in my mind, when I did that stuff, I was almost falling over after every trip. I pushed to that level, but I'll watch this person and they'll finish their 4th trip and they're not even sweating. And it's like, how do you teach that? Like if I, in my mind, pick a challenging weight for that means that I don't know if I'm going to finish it. I will finish, you will finish it, but
I'll find a way to finish it. But that last one's might be really tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to, or, for accessories, for incline dumbbell bench press, let's say, find your heaviest set of 10 to 12 and do that 4 times, or just whatever it may be. And, their last reps, they look like they could do 12 more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, there's a disconnect. Like I don't know how to quite bridge it, without coming off like an asshole. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because, first of all, I had the thought of talking to you today about like science and then like bro science and like all the different things we have to learn as a coach. And this is kind of going on this is beyond science level type teaching right here. But you have people like, oh, HIIT training doesn't work. And you're like, dude, do you have some videos of your training or something? And you're like, dude, it's to failure and then some. Like you weren't even close to failure. Like, what do you think you're going to grow? You didn't stimulate anything. But to some people in their mind, they're like, oh, that's failure. And I'm like, have you never done anything hard or ever been scared in your entire life? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't understand that. Actually, I was watching an interview with, I'm so horrible with names, but the guy's a pretty famous free climber. And he mentioned, he goes, I think he was in the airport and he's like, I'm seeing people freaking out about all this stuff. They can't get their bag on, or they want to charge them for their bags, or their flight's delayed. And he's like, to me, that's nothing. He goes, but I go out and do stuff where I'm legitimately scared for my life. And he goes, so maybe it's that I have just a whole different perspective in the world, and maybe people need to do some things that are completely and totally out of their comfort zone sometimes. And I think that's where, like, I think we mentioned earlier, Dave's Train Your Ass Off seminars, which, you know, the ones I've helped with is basically like teaching people what full on training your ass off is. And you're going to have experienced coaches and guys like me yelling at you and screaming at you and pushing you when you want to quit, you know, and that would probably be similar to like SEAL training or some of that other stuff where you need to, like you said earlier, you need to know where is that limit. And in order to know it, you got to go past it at some point. And so you have, and that's one of the things I always wondered about with, and I would love to talk to Mike to share sometime, about the reps in reserve or the RPE stuff. Like, how do you teach people that don't have any idea what those are? And I mean, because I've done it. I had clients, guys that I would help sometimes, and I'm like, all right, you know, we got to go over here, but I need you to do max effort good mornings. 1 rep, max effort. And I keep peeking back around the corner and like, they get to 225 and then I see him put it away. And I'm like, what the hell was that? What are you doing? I said max effort. They're like, oh, that one was pretty hard. It's not pretty hard. It's max effort. I want you to go max. And they can't even do that. And I think I'm not big on statistics and studies, but it would be interesting if you could somehow figure out all the people that are like, oh, lifting doesn't work for me, or I can't get big, or I can't do this, to actually look at their training and see how hard they do train. I mean, because if you break it down, you know, I love breaking things down to the simplest points, and it's like, dude, if you want your muscles to get bigger, you got to go into the gym, you got to push them hard enough to stimulate growth. Then you got to recover from that session. Then you got to let your muscles adapt and actually grow. Then you got to go in and do it again. Well, if you go in there and you do a little bit, you're not stimulating anything. So how do you think you're going to get bigger?
Yeah, I was actually reliving that on some sled work the other day, and it's been a really long time since I thought about just anything training hard, just because I haven't been able to. And you kind of get to where the distance that you want to walk to from your sled work. And, you know, like my hamstrings or my glutes or my calves will start hurting. And I'll be like, oh, I only have, you know, a couple more yards to go till I get there. And then I finally started thinking that process of this pain is getting me where I want to be. This pain is healing these knees that I just had surgery on. This pain in my hamstrings and my quads is making my quads grow, which I want bigger fucking quads. So then every time I take a step and it hurts and I feel that pain in my head, I'm like, this is getting me closer. This is doing the work that I'm going to achieve what I want. So then I end up going past the distance that I set because I keep reaching for that pain. And I'm not talking about bad pain. You know, I'm just talking about, you know, your muscles are burning, your lungs are burning. Mm-hmm. And every step I take, I'm thinking this pain is what's getting me what I want. So if I just stay in it as long as I can, I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to get the results that I want. And it's been a long time. It was actually very refreshing to be able to think like that again. And I haven't thought like that in a long time, and it helps, you know, I was able to squeeze out more yards. I was able to squeeze out more reps. You know, it's just, you have to understand that is the process.
Yeah. You have to always be thinking about that. You have to, I know with training people, a lot of people will be like, oh, it's my supplemental work. And so like, they just keep doing the same weights. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, you've got to do more reps. You've got to do more weights. If you're not pushing it further, like when I'm doing my little Husafell stones with my big steel plate, and I mean, it's like this thick, and I mean, it's heavy as shit. I try to always, I know where I'm at on the fence, and I'm always trying to go a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. Even today when I was running hills, I got up to the top of one of the hills, man, my hands are on my knees, and I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, my heart is going crazy. My lungs are going crazy. They're burning. And I thought, this is what's going to help keep my heart in shape. This is what's going to keep my lungs healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I came out here and walk every day, it's good for me, yes. But am I really pushing for growth?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so me running till I'm sucking wind and I'm like, oh my God, I want to just sit down, but I'm going to keep going. Like that's, to me, that's where the benefits really start.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rest
and
of
it's
it was
hard,
just a warm up to get there.
Yeah. And it's really hard to push people now. Back when I was a competitor and I was destroying myself on a daily basis in the gym, like my goal was to be crippled when I left the gym. I expressed everything through my body. Was it intelligent? Probably not. That's probably why I'm so banged up. But at that time, when people could see me destroying myself in the gym, I could use that as an example. Like, you need to be doing this. But now that I can't do that, it's really, I feel like a hypocrite. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a hypocrite because I can't do it now. It's just this weird feeling that I shouldn't be telling people to do that because I'm not the example. I do a lot better being the example. I'm very hard. It's very hard for me to verbalize it. I was always someone who was really good at being the example, but I wasn't good at verbalizing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I struggle with what you're really good at telling somebody to their face if they're doing something wrong, if they're doing something bad, or if they're being lazy. Like you have no problem with that. I can't do that. I'm better at just leading by example. You know what I mean?
Well, it's more fun mentally to lead by example. Mm-hmm. To go, dude, listen, watch this, mm-hmm. Or to go, that's it. Next week I'm training with you, or you're training with me because you're not getting it. Mm-hmm. Like that's just way more fun. Mm-hmm. I think the hard part now for me though is like even like I don't have that many online clients. So I'm trying to build it up, but as we were talking earlier, like even out of the few power lifters that I have, I've got masters guys that are in the top 5 all time. I got a 14-year-old girl that just broke all the 14-year-old records. It's hard for me not competing and coaching those people a little bit just because of that click in my brain. And I gotta kind of tell myself, listen, Chad, you've already done more than what most people are going to do. And you sacrificed a shit ton to do that. Now your goals are different and you're still pushing for your goals. They're just different goals.
Yeah.
I mean, and what I would say to you is like, don't worry about that. Just focus on, you've done it. So you know how to do it. You just got to figure out how to put the words together to get them to do it. Mm-hmm. But your goals now in life are different, but you're pushing for your goals still. You are losing weight. You are leaning out. You're all clean shaven. So I think that's a hard thing for us. And especially when there are, there's other powerlifters out there that all they do is powerlift and all they know is powerlifting and all they want to do is powerlifting. And
I was one of them.
They're older and they're beat up. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going, dude, isn't there something else you like? Isn't there something else you want to do? Like, I mean, it makes me feel fortunate that I have like more hobbies than I could ever do. I will never run out of things to do. I just need better sleep. And I knew, even though it was hard for me to lose some of the size and strength because of how much work it actually took to gain it. But I knew from the beginning, like, I'm not going to let this happen to me. Mm-hmm. Like 2 of the big guys, Odie Wilson and Anthony Clark, were 2 guys I always wanted to meet. I didn't get to meet them because they died so early.
They died young.
And young. Mm-hmm. And I always thought about that. And I go, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not mm-hmm. going to get this big and that's going to be, and not be able to let it go again.
That's weird that you mentioned Anthony Clark because I was just today, I went down a rabbit hole of Anthony Clark videos and I thought of this and it was weird. He died so young. So that means at the end of the career, that's when his body said no. That means when we were watching him do all those amazing things, he was dying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was dying, during all of those things. Like it's just
Well, I
crazy
mean,
to
again,
think that he thought that he was indestructible, but no, his body was dying and it just gave
how
up.
old was he when he died?
I don't know how old he was, but he did not live very long.
Yeah, it was not long, and it was like, okay, well, yeah, even if you're in your 40s and you're I don't know what he was, 5'5" or something, 330 pounds. I mean, your body's not made to do that,
Yeah.
I mean, and even if you look at, I mean, some of the strong men, yeah, if you're 6'7", you can probably hold 300 pounds really easy, but we're not made. Or I don't think humans are made to do that. And if they were, you would find more guys in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that weigh 300 pounds. Because there's guys that would be if they could be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, even with bodybuilding, and I love Lee Priest. I saw a video with Lee Priest where he was talking about people would give him shit in the off season because he'd get fat and he'd just eat whatever the hell he wanted.
I loved his Muscle Tech ads because I thought they were fake. Because I used to look at his Muscle Tech ads back where he's eating KFC and McDonald's and just this fat fuck.
Yeah,
I thought it was photoshopped because I didn't understand the human body could do that.
No, it was real.
I thought it was all fake.
But I saw him in a video and he's like, yeah, it was unhealthy. But he goes, you know what? When I cut down for a show, I'm so lean. That's unhealthy too. He goes, it's probably better. That's probably better than the other side of the spectrum. But he goes, the sport itself is not really healthy for you. Like, yeah, your body looks amazing, but inside it's not the best thing for you. We're not made to be that lean all the time.
Yeah, Stan Efferding always says athletes aren't healthy.
Yeah, most athletes are not healthy.
It's being an athlete is not healthy. You know what I mean?
And that's where I think I have
health and fitness. There's a difference. He always says there's a difference between health and fitness.
Yes. And I've always had respect for like the guys that can do their sport, be awesome at it, and then go, all right, I'm going to get healthy. And then they can continue to share the knowledge that they have, the rest of their life. They could die and not share the knowledge, or they can live on and share knowledge for 20 or 30 years, helping other guys that are doing the same thing. So it's kind of it's an interesting conundrum, like the whole lifting and putting yourself out there and going, we all kind of like that. Or there's a lot of us, I think, that kind of gravitate towards that hardcore mentality. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit. I'm going to do it. If I die, whatever, it is what it is. And I mean, that was my mentality for a while. I mean, I got under 1,200 pounds and I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, if it kills me now, at least I'm dying on the platform. But, there's also an intelligence in life, I think, where you get to the point and go, okay, wait a minute. Like, I did what I can do. There's going to be a point where you're not going to get any stronger. Like, it's going to get to where you're just holding on to his strength as long as you can. Then you're just like trying not to lose it as fast as you can, Mm-hmm. And I don't see what's wrong with accepting that and going, hey, there's a lot of other cool stuff in life.
I think it's easier when it's your choice.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because mine wasn't necessarily my choice.
Mine was not my choice.
I had my mental state was pretty bad and I had to pull back. Mm-hmm. And then once I kind of got that somewhat straight, when I started back, it's just injury after injury. And I did a few meets and I did okay in the Highland Games. But it wasn't like, it didn't end the way I wanted it, but I don't even care. Honestly, that's fine. It's all part of the journey to me.
When I messaged you yesterday about the podcast, it was because I listened to both Zach Evanesh's podcast with Dave Tate. And so much of what they talked about like resonated. And I missed this part so much. They would talk about how they came up as a kid, as a teenager, being in gyms, knowing that, this gym is a hardcore gym. I got to earn my way into that. And then when I finally go to that gym, you're looking for who the big guys are. Mm-hmm. And then you you make an effort for them to see you working hard just for that split second for them to acknowledge you. And I remember that
That
so
respect. You're
vividly
looking for
from my
respect.
youth. Like you find the strongest guy in the gym, and then you want to make sure that he sees you working as hard as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he sees you, you find out his schedule, just so you get some acknowledgement, and then that might someday lead into him giving you advice. That might lead into him letting you join his crew. And then that was just so nostalgic listening to that, because I can vividly remember, wanting to go to certain gyms, but I didn't think I was good enough or didn't think I was strong enough. And then when you get there, you find them, and you just want them to see you working hard. And it's such a stark contrast to the way things are now. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the whole world's a lot different now. But if you look at, like, I'm just thinking of Rob Luendo as you're talking, because if you follow Rob, he's got a bunch of kids and stuff working at he's got an awesome gym set up at I think it's at his house.
Yeah.
And I go, that's one where you can see those kids wanting to beat each other, wanting to push. I know they know who Rob is. So, like, I think there probably still is that atmosphere there. But overall, I think that atmosphere is kind of gone. And for me, I always trained alone in my basement. But I remember, the fun of, man, I've flattened myself with benches and have to roll it down my stomach or tilt it on the side. And I've got stuck with squats. And, I used to we had a beam in the basement, and I'd be like looking for something else to do. So I'd do pull-ups on it, or I'd hang upside down and do inverted rows, and like just trying to come up with everything I could for the equipment I didn't have, and then every now and then you go train with the football players when you at school, and, you want to beat everybody. You want to show everybody you're stronger than they are. And there was this, Josh Bryant with Jailhouse Strong. It's funny how things happen. I just read this post. It was yesterday or today. And he was talking about how he learned from all these old guys, these old, like, crazy, intense old dudes. Because there was like, I think there's guys that are strong as shit right now. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's amazing. There's tons of amazing lifters right now. But like those, you don't really have the crazy guys that you had before. And I think there's a place for those guys. And Jailhouse Strong did one about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I learned this from Fred Hatfield, and I learned this from this guy." And it was all about intensity, but it wasn't just about the intensity. It was like controlled chaos, or like clear insanity or something. He goes, "Yeah, all the guys are." You go heavy, you go hard and fast, but he goes, I'd have guys yell at me because I didn't have the intent. It's not just about going fast. It's about having intent. It's about treating the lightweights like they're heavy. And like, he learned all these great lessons from these crazy guys, but he was able to kind of see through the craziness and go, wait a minute, these guys are intense. So I need intensity, but I also need to be intelligent about what I do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you see that anymore, but I mean, it's kind of like my last podcast with a guest was Bain, and we were talking about how there's really very few teams anymore. Everybody trains on their own. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you have that camaraderie and that stuff. And then I don't even know if it's kind of like there's still a dark side of powerlifting, but you don't hear about it hardly at all. Like, nobody's telling the stories, which is some of the funnest stuff. I know the better and better I got, and the more I got to hang out with better and better lifters, just hearing the stories of the guys that came up before us. I love that. I love hearing stories about Matt Dimmel and Kurt Kowalski and like all these guys that they just did this crazy shit because they were like, they knew that the mentality was so important. And what gets missed is that they knew what they were doing too. Mm-hmm. People like Kirk Rossi, crazy. He trained all the time. It didn't matter what. And it's like, yeah, well, did you know he took 6 weeks off after a big meet? They're like, what? No way. And I'm like, yeah, he did. Like, he knew blew his wad. He knew his body was done, man. So he gave it time to heal up.
But you have to be a little unhinged to do this.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the fun to me.
It's funny you say there aren't really teams anymore. Over the last couple months, I've actually I've contemplated shutting my gym down for a month. I've contemplated shutting it down for the rest of the year. I've contemplated shutting it down until Kathy and I buy a house and the gym comes to our house, because I get hung up on the principle of things, and they're usually so minuscule, but I cannot move past them. We built, Kathy and I put this gym together because we wanted a place for people to train. We wanted it to be a club gym where you didn't pay. If you were training at the gym, there's no excuse why you can't be here on training days. There's no excuse why you're missing this. There's no excuse why you don't travel to meets. You know what I mean? That family, that team, that core environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it just never took off. When we first opened the gym, it was kind of like that, but then the years go by, people start missing more and more for reasons that I don't deem appropriate reasons. Then all of a sudden, we got 8 to 10 people who come to the gym, but there's plenty of nights where it's just me and one person, you know what I mean? And the gym was built to facilitate a crew like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because if you want to be a serious power lifter, you need a team like that. And if you don't have it, that gym doesn't need to exist. Right. Like my gym doesn't need to exist. Everybody who trains there could do what they're doing at a public gym. And could we go on the rest of the year like this? Absolutely, we could. We own the equipment. We're not paying rent. Could we go on forever with sometimes it's me and one person, sometimes it's me and 7 people? Absolutely, we can. But I cannot get past the principle of it. This gym was built for a reason. The reason is not being satisfied. So why does it need to exist? Yeah. And I've been struggling so hard with that.
Well, I think first of all, that's a good principle. That's a quality and a virtue in you that is a really good thing, even though maybe society doesn't deem it so. I think it is. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be better if we had a lot more of that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I understand your point. Like, listen, I built this for this. This isn't happening. Why do I have it? Mm-hmm. Except that if you don't have the gym, that means you got to train at a commercial gym. That sucks. Trust me.
Yeah. But there's another side to that. Because we built our gym for powerlifting specific, and because of what I went through the past 3 years, I really can't train at my own gym because there's nothing that I can do, because dumbbells and barbells really hurt my joints. There's not really a whole lot at my gym that I can do. So it's got to the point where I hate going to my own gym, and that is awful to be if you hate going to your own gym. And it wasn't so bad when there was a lot more dedicated people. Dedicated is not the right word. It's just people have lives outside of powerlifting, but they still want to come train at the gym. And I was like, you don't have to come here. Like, seriously, like, you could do this at a public gym with your schedule. Like, I understand you're busy. I understand you got family, you got jobs. Some people, their work schedules change. So dedicated wasn't the right word, but it's just, you don't need to train here. You can do what you want to do at a public gym. So at least if I couldn't train at my own gym, I wanted to make sure there was always somebody there. And I was that person who was always there. But then after time goes by, like, I hate going to my gym. Like, I'm not looking forward to it. This feels like an obligation. This feels like I'm going there just because I have to go there. And the only answer to that would be the gym needs an overhaul. It just needs new equipment. It just needs stuff that I can do, because when I go to commercial gym, my workouts are awesome. Like I'm doing lame shit, like I'm benching on a Smith machine and my shoulders feel great and I'm getting pumps and I'm actually enjoying training again. But I don't like going to my own gym at the moment, and I just think it just needs an overhaul, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, how many power lifters are actually training out of your gym?
I want to say, like me and Kathy included, I think there's about 8 of us, but really most nights there's maybe like 2 to 4 of us. Uh,
That's an interesting thing to me because, and I remember Mike Menser would tell stories about, he would set up on their training programs, and you didn't train a whole lot on HIIT training. Even Dorian Yates, he's like, I think Dorian Yates was when he was working, he was training 3 days a week heavy. When he didn't have a job anymore, he was training like 4 days, but it was under an hour, like training less than 4 hours a week. And people are like, what do I do with the rest of my time? Like training, I think training for some people, it becomes their life. It's their social. It's everything. And so if you go, hey, listen, if you're not making sessions, have you tried cutting your sessions down to less where you can make them? And then you train your butt off when you're there and then have smaller ones that are important but not as important.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, anybody can make gains in strength. Dude, if you could just give me like 3 to 4 solid hours a week, which is not much, you can make gains. And I would say that most of my lifters that are 40 or older, when they start actually training with me, after a couple months, they start making comments about how they're stronger than they've ever been. They feel better than they've ever felt. Their joints feel better than they've ever felt. And they're training less than they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes like when I hear stuff like that, my brain just starts clicking into, well, wait a minute, why aren't they doing this, or why aren't they doing this?
And the gym schedule, when we first started, it was, these are the 4 training days. If you want to train here, you have to be either 4 training days. And then that got lax, then that got lax. And now we only have 3 training days a week at the gym now. And the standard is you can train 1 day a week, 2, 3 days a week, or 4 days a week, whatever it is, whatever you sign up for, commit to it. Like if you can only train here 1 day a week, I don't care. Just, I want to be able to know that on that day you are going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and it's just kind of evolved into that, but then it turns into, stuff comes up and they can't even make the 1 day a week. And I understand, life comes up, but you don't need to come here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
if it's almost like it's a job, but it's not a job. So it's like when you get hired for a job, that from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, you have to be there no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, just because you got the sniffles or you're not feeling like it, you just don't go to work, right? Because then you don't get paid.
Yeah,
There's parallels to that.
I don't necessarily understand why people can't go, I can be there 3 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you manage to get to work every day. You manage to do, your kids' soccer or whatever. Why can't, I mean, to me, it's as important. You're adding years to your life most of the time. So why can't you do that?
And that's dying.
I think that also goes back to the team. When you have a team and you actually, I don't even know. I think defining words is usually a pretty good place to start when you're talking to people. But like, to me, a team, it's like a family. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm just a member of that team. No, if you say you're a member of that team, that's family. Those people matter to you,
mm-hmm.
And you matter to them. So if you're like, oh man, I'm exhausted today. So you know what? I'm not going to train, but I know so-and-so's going heavy, or I know they're doing dynamics. So if I can go in, they can get their session done quicker. So I'm going to go in and help.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand what happened to where did all that go? Like, that was, I mean, even being a pretty antisocial person that I am, and I spend a lot of time alone, I have great memories of my team. And we still talk. Some of them are like me, so we don't talk a lot. But I mean, we still call each other up, ask how each other's kids, not my kids, I don't have kids, but ask how each other's family's doing or whatever. And it's like no time passed at all. Like that was part of the whole thing. And I don't know. It's weird to me that that's dying, but I hear it. I get people message me all the time and talk to me, and they're like, "Man, it's so hard to find people to train with, and I want to do gear, but it's hard when you can't find people." And people are going, "Oh, I found somebody, but they don't come consistently." And I'm like, it just seems weird to me that there's not more people.
Yeah, like in regards to what Zach and Dave are talking about, I remember when I discovered that there was a powerlifting gym in my town, just these two guys that had everything you need just in a garage with no heat, no air conditioning. In the wintertime, you had to heat up the bars because they were frosted. Like they couldn't get rid of me. Like I was waiting at the door, 15 minutes before training started. Like they literally could not get rid of me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be there so bad. And I know I was an annoying kid that talked big about things, but I wasn't strong enough yet. And, they'd kind of make fun of you for saying you're going to do this and that. And as the months go by, you get stronger, and all of a sudden you're almost as strong as they are. And then all of a sudden you're stronger than they are. And you're like, remember when you made fun of me because I wasn't going to do this? Mm-hmm. And then here I am stronger. It's just, but there was always like a team. Kathy and I moved. I had a semester of college left before I graduated, and we moved to a different state for a powerlifting team. You know what I mean? And it only lasted for about a year after we moved, but it was like 10 years of experiences in a year. Like everybody showed up all the time. Everybody treated it like a job and a family and responsibility. And there was only about 6 of us, but it was a core solid unit. Yeah. And I miss that so bad. I miss it so much.
I mean, I will never say you can't do it alone, because you got guys like Blaine Sumner, who was just an absolutely monster, and he trained alone almost all the time, I think. But the lessons, and I talked about that with Bain, like even if you're a raw guy, having those other people there to critique your technique, to hold you accountable. Like, I mean, any one of us that's halfway aggressive, we're going to overtrain, we're going to overdo it. Like, we need someone there to go, hey, dumbass, you're done. Not today. You're done. And that, like you said, the lessons you're going to learn being in that group. And I tell like a couple, I have some father-son, father-sons that I train, both of them, like online and stuff. And it's really, really fun for me to watch how they interact and how they'll catch each other. And the son, Hudson is really smart with this stuff. So I'll be watching the video and I'll hear him in the back cueing his dad. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, one of the best things you can do is help other people. If you really want to learn, help other people. Mm-hmm. If you got another guy and you're like, dude, neutral back. God damn it, quit hunching. Neutral back. Next thing you know, you're going to get under the bar and you're going to be like, oh shit, am I neutral back? And like, it's you helping other people is going to clean your stuff up.
Makes you accountable for sure.
Yeah, it's such a huge thing. Even when I had my one group of powerlifters that I was still training till I moved. And there's a lot of time where I just sit back. I tell them what I need to do. I'll say this or that. And then I'm like, hey, Hunter, what'd Paul do? Like, because I want them to learn. I want them to interact. And that's like, excuse me. Damn it. That's actually fun for me. Because then you know that they're growing. Mm-hmm. Like they're actually taking charge. They're paying attention. You can't get that when you're training by yourself.
No. And the best years in powerlifting is when we had that group and you would go out for breakfast and then you would train, then you would go eat lunch, and then just having that core unit of people that were like a family. It's just special, and you just really don't see it anymore.
Mm-mm. And you have, like for us, it was cool because we had, I had tall, skinny guys, had shorter, chubby guys. I had guys that maybe weren't the best at book smarts, but mechanically they were super smart. Mm-hmm. So you have all these different perspectives, and we would, like after training, we would sit around and discuss why somebody's bench isn't going up and what we need to do and change to fix it. And then we had, like, Ethan was always great because Ethan had a daughter and a wife, and he like wanted to be with his family, but he committed to, he's like, even when he came to me, it was great when we first started talking at the gym, and he actually decided to come train with us because he's like, hey, here's what I can do. These are the days I can come in. This is the time I have. It was very, very upfront, very straight, and he's a man of his word. So, but it was good because, like, on a Saturday, some of us were single. We didn't give two shits. We would spend 12 hours in the gym. We didn't care. But we had Ethan going, hey, you lazy piece of shit, it's dynamic day. Get going, and make sure we got our shit done.
Yeah. I just, and in the off chance anybody actually listens to this that goes to my gym, like I don't harbor like animosity towards anybody. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to make a point that it's just not, the gym just isn't what it was designed to be. And I struggle with the fact, like, does it even need to exist? It's like, I don't have animosity towards them or anything like that. Families should come first.
It's an interesting conundrum, and especially with, I feel like as an older lifter, I feel like maybe we failed a little bit because, I mean, I learned so much from studying the guys that came in front of me. Mm-hmm. I learned so much from guys that were like kind of like not competing much anymore, maybe getting out of the sport when I was coming up. They still took time to help me out. There was a lot of, once I got bigger, I talked to a lot of legendary guys that weren't competing anymore that helped me. So I've always seen strength sports as like a trickle down kind of effect. Like guys keep getting better and better because information keeps getting trickled down. So guys are learning faster and faster. That gives them more time to get stronger and stronger. And it's like, well, did we miss the boat somehow teaching these younger lifters that, like, listen, part of this is a team. Like, you're going to be the one on the platform, but there's a bunch of people behind you that are going to make it all happen.
Yeah, I will admit that because, again, like I said before, I'm a lead by example. I'm not enforce the rules verbally type guy. If leading by example doesn't work, obviously I dropped the ball when, people weren't showing up. Like I just didn't enforce the rules verbally. I felt like leading by example should suffice. And before, like the gym that I said we moved for, the gym had a guy that was a Louis Simmons, or, he would crack the whip, he would be authoritative. And then we had the guys like myself who just led by example. So you had two reasons to show up, and our gym doesn't have that hold people accountable verbally person. It just, leading by example just isn't enough. I think there has to be both.
I think it was
or maybe you can be both. You can be both too, I guess, but I never was.
I think with my team it was kind of interesting because we always stayed kind of small, and even the owner of the gym one time goes, Chad, I don't think your team's ever going to get that big. And I'm like, why not? We're awesome. Like, we're the strongest guys in the gym. And he goes, yeah, but you guys are intense, man. He goes, I think you freak out a lot of people. I'm like, well, too bad then. We don't want them anyway. But with my team, it was a little bit like I always said, like, listen, I'm fucking king. But this is a democracy. I want everyone to have a say. But in the end, there's going to be times where I'm going to go, that's it. No, this is what we're doing, period. But I pretty much, most of it was like a democracy. It's like, what does everybody want to do? So, like, if somebody came in, it was like, all right, yeah, you can train with us today and we'll see. And then everyone would kind of put their say in, like, do you want to see what this guy, you want to let him in again, or you want to tell him to freaking go kick rocks? And, there's a lot of guys that would come in, and after a while, everybody's like, dude, screw that guy, man. He's not helping load plates. He just comes in here and getting information, and fuck that. I'd go, listen, dude, it's not working out, man. Sorry. Mm-hmm. I had one young kid. I knew his mom and I knew his brothers. His brothers all trained at the gym and he was a younger, like 14 or 15. And, I had to pull him to the side and I go, listen, everybody likes you, but man, you got to pick it the fuck up. Like you got to jump in there and you got to load plates and you got to take plates off. You're not just here lifting. And I told his mom, I talked to him and she's like, all right, I trust you. And then eventually I'm like, hey, I went and talked to his mom and I go, I'm kicking your kid out, man. He's not pulling his weight. She goes, okay. She's like, if he's not doing what he needs to do, that's his problem. And he should get kicked out. I go, okay. So we never got really big, but I mean, I think at the most we probably had maybe 6 or 7 guys at one point. I would say the core probably was 5 or 6, and sometimes it was down to like 3 or 4. But I mean, we had guys like if you didn't show up, I mean, if one of my guys didn't show up, everyone knew that somebody got text, and he was probably sicker than shit, or like something serious came up. And even then, you're going to get teased about it.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to miss a session and not get some shit for it. Mm. You know, because the thing was like, listen, if you're sick, stay home because nobody else wants to be sick. But if you're tired, if you're sore, if you hurt yourself, you can still come in and help.
Yep.
Like if you can walk but your back's fucked, you can come in and critique people. Like so everybody was there almost all the time.
Yeah, I noticed the last couple of years that people have really. I'm ashamed that I let it happen, but society has really drained my passion for powerlifting. And I can just remember, like I used to pour so much into other people, and I remember always getting mad that I wanted it more than them.
Yeah,
and it just went through so many years like that where you keep wanting it more for that person, and people more and more don't want it for themselves. And I'm just ashamed to admit it that just like people drained my passion for powerlifting. And it literally wasn't until I listened to Zach and Dave and their 2 podcasts, and like it just kind of re-sparked something in me. Just because you cycle through people that don't want it doesn't mean you stop, because if you stop, then that person that comes around that does want it, you're not there. You know what I mean? So it's almost like an obligation of what we have to pass on, that it has to, you just have to keep trying. You just have to keep and if you identify that somebody, if you want it more than they do, well, just identify it and just move on to the next person. But I have noticed the past couple of years that it just, people drained the passion out of me.
That kind of goes with the book I'm working on right now in a way. Because you can't give your power away to other people. You can't let people have control over you because that's giving them power. Mm-hmm. And here's an interesting one. I'm very big on perspective. So even if you go back to our day or my day, because I was a little before you, everybody's like, oh, there was Westside, there was Huge Iron, there was Diablo Barbell. And it's like, well, stop a second and think about it. How many big gyms could you really name? How many big teams could you really name? There were still few and far between. Mm-hmm. So maybe we're seeing it from a little bit of a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Maybe there are still those people out there. Maybe there's still people that want to find that, but it's been kind of muddled down with today's social media. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a matter of us trying to drive it harder. You know, I mean, I don't know how many powerlifters are in Pahrump because it's fairly small, but maybe I could get everything built here, get the gym up, and I might be able to start a team of 5 guys. It's awesome. Guys that are really dedicated to it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. You know, so maybe there's a lot more people out there than we think, but there are people that have never experienced it, never been in it, never had an opportunity to find it. And nowadays it's kind of like, I mean, if I imagine if you came into powerlifting right now today and you kind of lifted weights and you're like, ooh, I saw a powerlifting thing, I'd like to do that. You're going to get on the internet and you're going to see a lot of people that train alone. Mm-hmm. You might not even know that the team thing exists or training with other people is a possibility. Mm-hmm. So maybe what I don't want to say we're bitching about it, but I mean, I can be blunt. Maybe what we're bitching about is actually still all there. We're just not seeing it.
Yeah. And just yesterday and then today, like my mind is just, that spark is kind of, I'm like racing, like when the gym moves to our house, I'm already thinking about all the equipment I can get, about all the people that, because our gym is a half hour out of town. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a legitimate excuse, but nobody wants to drive a half hour to come to our gym. Everybody always says if the gym was in town, they train there. So I'm just getting myself re-excited again about when the gym does move to our house and I can make it. I'm going to start over and I'm going to make it what I want to be. I'm going to reinforce the rules. I'm going to be the person that I wasn't before. I want to bring that back. I want to have high school kids come in who want to get stronger. I want to have people from public gyms come in. Like I very much want to build a hub in our area for powerlifting. It's like it literally resparked something when I listened to them yesterday. Like it's kind of resparking that desire for me again.
You just popped a memory in my head about the first time when Bigger, Faster, Stronger came out. I got a quick clip in there. The guy that eats shit.
I know, I just watched it today. I'm the guy that eats
shit.
I watched you fall, yeah.
The funny part is when we're in the premiere, the whole audience went dead silent except for me laughing when that clip came on. But Mark and Chris invited me down for the premiere, and I'm like, I asked my buddy if he wanted to go because he makes low budget movies, and he's a big dumbbell. He loves heavy dumbbells. And so I'm like, dude, let's come down. We're both broke. I go, we don't even need a hotel. Because at that time, I'm up for 2 or 3 days regularly. And so we go down and we're like, dude, we'll go hit Muscle Beach. We'll hit Gold's Gym. And it's like Gold's Gym was such a letdown to me. Because, I was watching those videos and it was like groups. It was like, dude, this place must always have groups of bodybuilders that are in here just killing it. And you go in there and you're like, well, first of all, there's one huge ass room of cardio crap. The gym's not that big. And there's one person that's halfway sizable and he's training by himself. Like, this is nothing like I thought. And it turns out the heavy dumbbells were all stacked underneath and covered in dust. So nobody had actually used them in years. But even in bodybuilding, I mean, if you think back to the old days, it was like a lot of guys would move to a place where they could lift with other big guys. Nowadays, I don't think bodybuilders even do that anymore.
No.
It's really weird. It's a weird social thing. But I mean, I can go down a rabbit hole of like kids spending time on their devices and stuff like that. I got this great story. The best friend that I grew up with. We still talk every 5 or 6 months. We see each other every few years. He was one of the youngest principals in Missouri. And I was talking to him one time, and he's like, yeah, he was a tennis coach too. He goes, I was hanging out with the kids, and we went to this tournament, and on the way back, we stopped at a restaurant. And everybody's talking and hanging out, and then as soon as we get on the bus, I sit next to this one kid, and he's on his phone just texting like mad. And I'm like, hey, who are you talking to? And he goes, I'm texting the girl. And he's like, dude, weren't you just sitting next to her? And he's like, well, yeah, but I didn't really want to talk to her because I'm nervous talking to her. But on here, I can think about what I want to say and then send it. I don't have to just communicate it. I have time. Mm-hmm. And he was like, what? And I think that's like a lot of kids are getting that way. They don't know how to interact one-on-one or in person. They don't know how to handle their emotions or feelings. And so they just want to stay alone and do their own thing. All this coming from an antisocial person.
And another reason that makes me want to get on board with this again is I think last summer there was a for somehow this mom of a high school athlete got my contact information, and she kept wanting to have her like 16-year-old son come out and train with us because I guess he was struggling and he needed help, and like with self-esteem, and he wanted to be better in sports. And at the time I was so fucked up mentally, like I was drowning, like I couldn't hold myself up. Just the thought of taking on a kid who's basically a beginner, and I couldn't do it. Like I was drowning. And she was very persistent, like 4 or 5 times she just kept just basically begging me to let him come out there, and I couldn't do it. And I look back at now and I just fucking hate myself. I just kick myself for, like, I could have helped that kid, you know what I mean? Like I could have. And that drives me moving forward to where I don't ever want to pass up something like that again. I want to be in a position to where I can help people like that. I want to build my gym to be just a place for people to come.
I really enjoy working with young adults. I've had a couple that I started with, and even though they don't train with me anymore, like they'll still text me to see how I'm doing. Sometimes they'll text me with problems, and they're like, "Hey, I'm dealing with this, Chad. What do you think?" Which is kind of cool. And then I started with Hunter. I think I don't know. I think I started with him maybe part of his senior year, and then trained him through college into playing indoor football. Now he just got through the police academy, and to see those people grow and to help them, I think lifting can teach you, for a young person, lifting can teach you so many lessons, but sometimes they don't recognize it. And I kind of like being there and going, hey, you know what that teaches you, how you can use that in life, and kind of sink in that lesson where, like, the term coach, I don't mind it, but I don't want to be a coach. I want to be a guide. Mm-hmm. I want to be there to assist people in their journeys. I don't need to be there every day, harping on them every day. Like, which is when we were talking earlier, I go, coaching's, it's cool. I go, but honestly, I like doing seminars. I like doing consultations, and that, cause to me that, again, that fits into that guy. I'm a guide. If things are going good and you're training on your own, you don't need to pay me to train you. Like, but then when something comes up, of course, I have a whole deal, man. I do video reviews. I do consultations. Like, we can work it out. I mean, I've even had people that have come to me and they want me to train them. And I go, listen, I'm a horrible businessman. I'm like, I don't know if you need me to fully train you. Why don't we do this? Why don't you send me some videos? I'll review them. And then you can do this, And I've had some people, I've done the opposite. I've had people do consultations with me and they're like, dude, I've never heard any of this shit. Like, this is unbelievable. Will you train? What's it going to be to train you full time? So, but I mean, I like the idea of a guide. I want to teach you how to be a better lifter, and I want that to transfer into life. And I want you to understand what's going on. Because honestly, even at the coach athlete level, I will never know your body as well as you will. Mm-hmm. But I can guide you to learn how to read your body better. Then you can communicate with me what's actually going on, so I can be a better job as a guide or a coach. And so it all becomes like a symbiotic thing. By me teaching you, you're going to be better at giving me the information so I can teach you even more and just keep building on it.
Yeah. I just told a girl I'm training a couple months ago. She's young, just graduated college. She's from that culture of kids to where they need constant affirmation. They need constant, they just need reassurance 24/7. Mm-hmm. And she trains at our gym, and like, she almost paralysis by analysis. Like, she almost couldn't function every single rep and everything she did, she was looking for somebody to give some sort of affirmation about if she did it right or wrong. And it's almost like she was paralyzed. And she actually just went on a vacation to like Finland or something like that. And I gave her a program, and she was there for 2 weeks, and she trained every day. And every day she trained, her technique just got better, 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 better. And like, you were away from us and you had nobody around you. You just worked. You made more progress in those 2 weeks by yourself than you have in a year being with us, because you weren't paralyzed by this constant need for affirmation. Like, you just did it. You know, I've always, I keep telling you, you need to be the captain of your own ship. You know what I mean? Like, we can only help you so much, but you still have to steer the ship. You still have to do this. You have to be the captain of your own ship. And it's finally starting to click with her, to where she's trying to learn sumo deadlift. And I said, check these 3 boxes, but everything else, you need to figure it out. As long as your core is tight, as long as your upper back is arched up and tight, as long as, I don't remember the other one was, but I was like, I gave her 3 boxes to check. But I was like, now it's up to you to figure out your deadlift stance. As long as you check these boxes, you are going to be safe. But you need to figure it out. You need to be the captain of your own ship. And I did the same thing with like bench and squat, because she was like, it's just like paralysis by analysis. Like, she couldn't move without somebody saying that was good, or that was, you're doing it right. You know what I mean?
I like to boil things down to the simplest point, and I like the captain of your own ship. I think I just wrote that recently. Confidence. If you want to boil that all the way down, she finally didn't have anyone to look at, and probably went, okay, well then I'm going to do what I think.
Mm-hmm. That's what she needed, 100%.
And what she thought actually turned out to be right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say all that boiled down to her learning a little bit of confidence in herself. And she probably always had ideas. She just didn't have the confidence to try them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that happens to a lot of people, especially in today's society. I think we have, oh, well, I got to watch this YouTube guy. I got to watch this other guy. I got to watch this guy. I got to watch this guy. And that's like, I had Leroy Walker on my podcast recently, and one of the things he said is like, one of the common ground between all the best is at some point they do what they need to do. All the other shit doesn't matter. What do I need to do? And that's kind of like, so she's on that journey and growing, and that's going to transfer into her life too. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's like way beyond just powerlifting. She just learned a lesson that's going to be huge. I'll bet her confidence in everything goes up. Like, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool as a coach to see that.
Oh, it was, because I even wrote her like a big, long, like, heartfelt email about how this applies to real life. And, you know, you can't be scared to look stupid. Like, if you walk through life constantly paranoid that something's going to happen to where you are going to look stupid and you just never try, you're never going to get any better. But if you understand the fact that if you expose yourself to failure, if you expose yourself to coming up short in life, when things happen, and things are going to happen, you're going to get kicked at your ass. You're going to fall on the ground. Getting knocked over is not your fault. Staying down is your fault. And when something happens that knocks you down, that you would knock you down, let's say for like a month, the next time it happens, it only knocks you down for 2 weeks. The next time it happens, it only knocks you down for a day. Then you build this callus to adversity. You build this callus to things happening, to where the things that used to take you down for a month, now you spend 20 minutes thinking about it and you're on to your next thing.
See, I would say, I like to say, why do we fall?
So you learn to pick yourself back up.
Mm-hmm. And so I don't really care. The reason why I fell is only for me to learn from. Mm-hmm. It's not for me to blame anyone. It's not for me to blame myself. I fell. Okay. Why? Oh, because I didn't do this. Okay, cool. Now get myself back up. And so it's not even a bad thing. Like, it's a lesson. It's a good thing. And even with her, if you do something dumb and people laugh at you, good. Now you know who the real friends are. Like, even that was a positive thing.
And I hate to say it, like the whole social media thing, but it's 100% accurate. Your life is under criticism 24 hours a day because you're
Yes.
constantly posting your life. So you are under judgment 24/7. I mean, when we were like in high school or whatever, yeah, you were constantly under judgment for like what, 8 hours a day when you're at school and
Yeah.
maybe some with your friends, but then you got a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now people post every part of their life online, so they are constantly being judged
Hmm.
24/7, and it's like they're serving themselves up. Like they don't understand that they're doing it, but you're serving yourselves up. So people are so petrified to do anything that looks stupid, or they're so petrified to look dumb because their whole life is judgment.
Yes. But again, as much as I completely agree with you, and I would say I dislike social media more than I like it. I think it has
Mhm.
some positive stuff, but we're not using it for that. But honestly, even that thing, the fact that it works that way is a gift.
Mhm.
If we see it as a gift, if we learn to go, hey, somebody's going to critique me. And you know what? That's an opportunity for me to work on me.
Mhm.
If somebody critiques my stuff, and I actually think about all this a lot. It's this kind of what my book thing is. Um, and I analyze myself. And it's funny sometimes because it's different now, but there was a point where, somebody would say something stupid and I'm like, oh man, dude, what the hell? Why'd that dude say that, man? Why does he feel that way? Like, and then you stop and you think about it and go, wait a minute. There's 30 awesome comments, positive, awesome comments. I'm focusing on the one negative.
Mhm.
Why? Why am I shooting to that one negative when I could be giving all that time to the positive ones?
Mhm.
And then you usually don't even know that person.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? I don't care what you say. Not you, but I mean,
Yeah.
and it's like, and then the person, like, it's like they think you do care, so they keep saying stuff, and you're like, dude, whatever. Like, I don't give two shits what you think, man. Like, if I wouldn't ask you for advice, why am I going to listen to your criticisms?
Mhm.
And if you really break it down, when people say negative stuff like that, it really it says something about them. So a lot of times I'm like, dude, man, I feel sorry for you. I hope you're doing well, man. I hope things are going good for you. Because apparently something's so fucked up in your life that you need to do this. And I hope that works itself out.
Yeah.
So even that is an interesting thing. And I think to take that back into powerlifting and this girl, one of the fun, when the owner of the gym said, I don't think your team's going to be that big. Like, if you went and watched my team, you weren't going to hear compliments.
Yeah.
You were going to hear you didn't sit back, you didn't stay tight, your knees shot forward, your back rounded, your elbows came out. That's what you were going to hear. And so people are like, oh, damn, they fucking hate each other, man. What the fuck? And no, we actually loved each other, and we knew that we loved each other. So if you said nothing, if you did a lift and nobody said nothing, you're like, hell yeah, that was good. Nobody's got a critique, really? Right on. It's like they're not gonna tell me what's good because it's already good. I don't need to know that. I need to know what I need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd be walking through the gym and people would be like, hey Chad, what'd you think about that one? I go, completely fucking sucked. You didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. And they're like, oh man, what the hell, man? Everybody else said it was good. And I go, yeah, because they don't care. I care.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to do your best. I want to see you perform your best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lesson that goes back to social media. If everybody has positive things to say, that's probably not the best thing either.
No.
So it's the mental, and this is kind of what I mentioned earlier about that whole, you got like all these different sects of training. You got bro science, and you got the guys that are all about science, the science and the studies, and then you have the completely insane, just go for it. And it's like, what I can't understand is why we can't get together, first of all, and why can't we all just discuss this? Because I think each one has valid points. But even if you do all the science, but you don't believe in it, it's not going to work. And you could do the shittiest program in the world, but if you're all in and you believe, you're going to be unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So like, okay, then why can't we go, I want the best program and I want to believe in it. Like, I want the best of all the worlds. You know, and so why can't we just get together and talk about that, and then talk about, like, everybody's different. I know. I took all the anatomy classes. I know all the anatomy and physiology. Like, basically we're the same, but we're really not. You know, and if we were all the same, we would all be able to throw a baseball the same. We would all be great at sports. We would all be great at chess. We would all, I mean, you know, everybody has something they're good at. Everybody knows how to throw a baseball better. Everybody knows how to, like, some people are good at this. Some people are good at that. Some people are good at this. So why wouldn't people have different recovery rates? Why wouldn't people have different metabolisms? Like, so you can't, I just don't believe that there is one best of anything. It's finding what's best for the person. And I think the one common ground is still mentality. If there's one thing we should be teaching everybody, it's mentality. Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, honestly, the whole reason I'm trying to write this book is because it is about mentality, but I'm pointing it more towards life, but it's also strength training or training, because it's all the same stuff. Like, if you go into it with the wrong mentality, I don't care what you do, you're kind of screwed. You go into it with the right mentality, you're going to do well, but it's also going to depend on how smart you are with everything else. So, like, why not go? Why? Like, I tell people sometimes, I go, man, I would love to be able to go, okay, you want me to train you? Okay, so the first month, we're going to do 3 hours a week of, like, a sit-down session. And we're going to work on your mentality, and we're going to get rid of all these horrible habits before we even start training. Like, I think that would be one of the greatest things ever. And just get people's minds and mentalities right before they even start.
Yeah. I spent so many years destroying myself because I thought that's how you trained. Mm-hmm. So I possess that part of it, the believing. And it wasn't until I met Shane Sweat, who gave me the right program, that I put 200 pounds on my total. So I had the believe part, but if you didn't have the right program, or if you're not being scientific about it, or if you're not being intelligent about it, it may serve the purpose that you're just trying to destroy yourself on gym day, but you're not getting better. And then once Shane Sweat came in with the right program on top of my belief, that's when everything clicked.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've seen Gary Frank had one of the strangest programs I've ever seen in my life. And he took the all-time total from like 2,500 to 2,800.
Yeah, wasn't he like the first to be like 26, 27, 28?
Yeah, when I started talking to some of his guys and heard about their training and stuff, I'm like, really? I'm like, wow, that makes absolutely no sense. I've never heard of anyone doing that. I mean, it's the simplest thing ever, but so how does one guy do that? I mean, sure, he was in the NFL and a good shot putter, so he had decent genetics, but like, I would say his mindset was stronger than anything. Mm-hmm. And that also includes, I would say that mindset also includes people just listening to their bodies. Like, they're confident enough to listen to their body. Mm-hmm. So I remember we had this guy named Reven, who was, he coached a couple of the Olympic guys in the gym, and he actually was a really good lifter way back in the day. And I believe he coached for the U.S. team for a little bit. And we were talking about Mark Henry one day, and he was on the team when Mark Henry was there. He was coaching. And he's like, yeah, dude, everybody thought he was a lazy piece of shit. Nobody, everybody's like, well, he doesn't train hard enough. He comes in and sits around and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, you know what? Like, I've heard stories like this so many times. How the hell are all these guys this strong in this world class if what they're doing is wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe my perspective on this situation is not right, and I need to pull back and look at this again. And I thought, you know what? Maybe those guys just know when it's time to go and when it's time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't care what anyone else says. Like me, when I came up, I bought into the blue collar, you outwork everybody, you work your ass off. If you're not getting the results you want, the only option is to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
I would have got a whole lot stronger, a whole lot faster if I would have realized that in my teens instead of realizing it in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually the main factor in me actually becoming as strong as I was. And it was hard. It was hard for me to do what I did because all I kept hearing was shit. He doesn't train enough. He works out once a month and just all this crap. And I'm like, but why aren't you beating me then?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if what I'm doing is so wrong, why am I putting up the numbers I'm putting up? You know, and I don't even coach. I don't coach anybody to train like I train because I don't know anybody else with narcolepsy and sleep as fucked up as mine. You know, so like if I could train more, I would train more. But it wasn't about how hard I trained or how much I trained. It was about how hard. No, I shouldn't say that. That's wrong. It wasn't about how hard I trained in the gym. And it wasn't about how often I was in the gym. To me, it was about how hard am I training and how good am I? Am I getting better all the time? It wasn't about how strong I was. It was about how much weight I could lift.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, and I say this all the time, I go, yeah, if you train hard in a gym and you don't do shit for your recovery outside the gym, then you ain't training hard. You're going in the gym and you're beating the crap out of yourself, and I don't care. Because I love doing that, so I'm not impressed. Now, if you're in the gym training hard and you have a good program and you're getting to bed on time and you're forcing down all your calories, you know, and you're staying up with your mobility because mobility and flexibility is huge in strength, yeah, you're training hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. To me, it's like this is the stuff I love talking about. I've gotten to the point where what exercise you're doing or how many reps and sets you're doing, I'm like, I just don't care. Whatever.
Yeah, that's just a part of, you know, me talking about losing my passion. It'd be like you'll train with people or you'll train people and they want this, they want that. And you'll tell them you have a problem with thoracic extension or your shoulders are jacked up or your upper back is weak or there's something wrong with your ankle. Weeks go by, you know, what have you done to address that? Nothing. Months go by, what have you done to address that? Nothing. Years go by, what have you done to address that? Nothing. Like, you're telling me that you know something is wrong, but you're doing nothing to fix it. Why do I want this more than you do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how many videos have you watched about thoracic extension? How many books have you read about mobility? What have you done to alleviate this problem?
Well, that's where I asked them, how bad do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want it only if it involves training hard in the gym, or do you really want it? Mm-hmm. Because if you're having problems with that thoracic mobility, you could lift more weight at the same strength you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And powerlifting don't mean shit how strong you are in powerlifting. It's who lifts the most weight.
Yep.
I've beat a lot of guys that were stronger than me because they couldn't lift as much as I could. So
yeah, Louis said it's one thing to be strong. It's another thing to display it.
Yes. And that's the truth. So if you're telling me you want to be great and you want to be good and you brag about how hard you train in the gym, but you're not doing this other stuff, I'm just not impressed.
Yeah.
Because training hard in the gym is easy. Getting to bed on time kind of sucks. Getting all your food down kind of sucks. Doing stretching really sucks. Like, but that's what you need to do. And that's, I mean, it's funny because in school, I'm not that smart a person. I just did the work, and I have my own perspective on seeing things. So like, yeah, I did okay. I graduated high school in the honor roll. I screwed off my first couple of semesters in college, but I got it back up, but I was willing to do the work. So to me in powerlifting, it was kind of the same thing. I don't see myself as being super smart, but I'm willing to do the work. Mm-hmm. But I was willing to do all the work. I didn't care how much I hated stretching. It was going to make me lift more. I was going to do it. It was really hard to not train as much as I was training. And it was really hard. And you can ask all of my teammates. Every time I backed everyone off, I struggled mentally with it. Mm-hmm. Like I would start talking about it months before I actually pulled the trigger. Mm-hmm. And then everyone would get stronger. And I'm like, and then maybe the next time it'd be a little bit easier. But in the end, it was still hard every time because I wanted to train more. Yeah. It was like, do you want to train more or do you want to be strong? What do you want to be? And I got no problem if somebody says, listen, I love training. My highlight of my day is going to the gym and seeing how much I can take for an hour and a half. Cool, I get it, man. I lived that most of my life. Mm-hmm. I'll write you some crazy ass motherfucking programs if you want. Like, but don't then come to me and ask why you're not strong.
Yeah. And
don't tell me I want to bench this. No, you don't. You want to go to the gym and train hard, which I'm fine with. Just be honest.
Yeah.
And I do that with all my clients. We usually in the beginning, we talk about goals, and I mean, one of my older clients was having a lot of balance issues and stuff. And we talked about, the thing first is to get you walking right, get your balance better where you're not worried about falling. Like that's our goal, and it's just,
that's a standard.
He's actually one of the hardest workers I have and he's 74. Yeah. But that's being honest about the goal.
Yeah, that's just standard. Whenever a new client comes on, I have like an interview that I already have made out, and the first thing we do is we establish their goals, and then everything trickles down from there because the program has to represent the person's goals, and it's going to be different. It's always the program is based off their goals. Just like you said, if it's just someone who likes to train hard, you can give them that program that trains hard, but they're not going to be setting PRs, and they're not going to be. It's fulfilling their need. Mm-hmm. Yes, if they would have came in and said, "I want to be the best power lifter in the state," program's going to be different.
Yeah.
If they're just like, "I want to lose weight," program's different.
Or establishing. If somebody comes to me and like, I want to bench 800 pounds, I'm like, all right, let me explain to you what it's going to take. And then let's see if that's really what you want. Because I don't want to set somebody up for failure. If the guy's like, I want to bench 800 pounds and we talk about it and he's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be that strict. Well, then let's drop that number down and still be successful. You know? And that goes with, I think that goes back to the mentality. If you have people who are most people won't continue to run into a wall and keep doing it. Mm-hmm. That's a certain mindset that I think like you and I have. We'll keep running at it and eventually we'll go, maybe I can go under it, or maybe I can go over it, or maybe I can go around it, but we're going to keep going. And, I love with a lot of my lifters, I don't know if we talked about it, but I'll usually at some point we'll eventually talk about the one lift. What's the one lift you got stuck at? Like I got stuck at a 500-pound bench for, I don't even know, like 2-3 years. And I remember Matt Wenning I think Matt Wenning's might have been his bench too. But like, it seems like every one of us has at least one lift that it was like, we just every meet, like same thing. And then finally you jump and go through it. But it's like, how many people do you know that were powerlifting and got stuck and lasted maybe a year? Because they went, that's the best I can do. I'm done.
Did you think you got a river that's flowing down a hill? If it comes up to an obstruction, does it stop? It goes around, it goes over, it goes under. after 10 years, it wears the rock down, but the motion never stops. You know what I mean? Like it finds a way to go under the rock. It finds a way to go around it, over the top of it. It wears it down. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't stop
Yeah,
progress. You know
even
what I
if
mean?
there's
It just,
rocks all the way across, then it runs into it
you
and it
find a
builds
way.
up and it builds up and it builds up till it goes over it.
You find a way through it. You know what I mean? Like you don't just stop. You know what I mean?
And that's the mindset. That's knowing. I mean, that's having confidence in yourself. That's knowing that like this isn't going to be an easy journey. There's going to be plateaus. There's going to be sticking points. You know, that it's just what it is. I mean, if you look at my career, basically over the for 10 years, like from my top total, which was 2733, if you go back 10 years, I had totaled like 1,700.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, dude, 100 pounds a year on my total? And it really actually, I've never taken the time to completely figure it out, but it pretty much was a consistent over the whole time. I'm like, that's pretty good. Like, but you didn't realize it. It was still like, okay, I'm getting a little better. All right, I'm getting a little better. All right, I'm getting a little better. You know, and you had lifts that were sucking and you just keep going. And if you keep going, I think over the long run,
yeah,
it's like investing money.
You just plant your feet. You know, if you can't sprint anymore, you walk. You know, if you can't walk anymore, you crawl. But you never stop. If it gets to the point where you just plant your feet and nothing's going to move you backwards, but you never stop going forward. You just plant your feet and say, this isn't going to blow me over. It might take me a while.
I'm going to rest here for a minute,
stop,
and then I'm going to keep
but
going.
It's not going to blow me over. You just literally have to plant your feet and say, no, this isn't going to happen. It's
funny because I have this, I don't know if it's my sleep or what, but my memory's not the best. So I tend to make things in what I can remember. Like I'm really bad with names, but I'll remember a face forever. Mm-hmm. So when I think about my life and stuff, I always have images. And like the image of my life is me walking in a snowstorm, snow up to my knees. And I'm just leaning into it, mm-hmm. grabbing my coat, holding it down, and just keep walking. Just keep walking. Next step, next step, next step. That's like the image of my life. If you said, Chad, draw an image of your life, that would be it. Just don't quit. You haven't lost if you're still going.
Yeah.
And you can't win if you stop.
You just keep moving forward. Eventually you break through. Everything ends. Good things and bad things. Everything ends. So if you're in the shit, it is not going to be shit forever. Everything ends. You know, if it's winter, it's going to be summer eventually. You just have to outlast it. You know what I mean? And if
I think that's
when things are going good times end too. It's like in Batman when Bane says, "Victory has cost you peace." You know, victory has cost you strength. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because if things are going good and you coast and you get soft and you lose that callus, then because everything ends, good times end, bad times end. So if you just kind of sit back and you get calloused and you just let things get easy again, what happens when bad times? Because everything ends. So you can't let victory soften you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's a really good thing for mental health too. Because I know, man, in the throes of serious clinical depression, you wonder if this is it. This is the one where I'm going to be here and I'm never coming out of it again. Mm-hmm. Is this the way it's always going to be? Because it takes away all the good and all the positivity. So all you see is negative anyway. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to keep telling yourself, listen, I've beat this before. I'm going to beat this again. And I'm going to beat it again. And I'm going to keep doing it. And every time I do it, I'm going to get better at it. You know, and it's hard to think that when you're in the pit, but you have to. Mm-hmm. And I think I've actually talked with Dave on one of the podcasts. We were talking about happy or something like that. And I'm like, happy is just an emotion. But I thought a lot about it and I go, I want to be at peace.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking not at war kind of peace. I want to be at peace.
Mhm.
I don't want to get too low and I don't want to get too high. No matter what happens, I just want to be like, okay, cool. That's cool. And there's
You
this.
want you want the pendulum to rest at the bottom. You're tired of it one extreme
Yes.
that way, and then it's
Yeah.
one extreme that way. You just want the pendulum to finally
And
just
I don't want to give that power to somebody else. Like somebody says something on the social media, you're all sad and depressed. And somebody says something nice and you're all high.
yeah.
Screw that, man. I want to be like, hey, thanks for that compliment. That's cool.
Mhm.
Oh, you don't like it? Well, good. That's cool too, man. And like just be able to cruise through it, keeping my peace. Because when I'm at peace, I'm pretty happy. I mean, I feel
Mhm.
pretty good. And there's this analogy about this farmer in like China or Japan or something, and his horses break out, and they all run away. And so he loses his 2 horses, and he needs to plow his field and everything. And the townspeople are like, "Oh man, you got the worst luck. That's horrible. It's awful." And he goes, maybe. The next day, his horses wander back, and they got 4 wild horses with them. All the townspeople are like, "You're so lucky. That's great. That's awesome. You're the luckiest guy ever." And he goes, maybe. So then a week later, his son's trying to ride one of the wild horses, gets bucked off, breaks his arm. Townspeople are like, "Oh my God, that's so horrible. You're so unlucky. That's so unfortunate. I can't believe it." And he's like, maybe. And the next day, the military comes through, conscribing all the young men. They don't take his son because his arm's broken. Townspeople are like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky." And he's like, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. You can't let the highs and lows dictate your life because
Yeah.
it's always, again, everything ends, whether it's good or bad. You can't let the highs and lows dictate. You just have to be consistent and show up.
Stay level, find your peace, protect your peace, fight for your peace.
Mhm.
And you'll always be doing good. You know, there's the low. I say, and the Wood Brothers have a song called Happiness Jones, and it's about we don't learn shit when we're happy. Like, and really think about it. How your best lessons you've learned in your life? Were you miserable or were you happy?
Mm-hmm.
Usually miserable. So I thought, the bad times are where I'm going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
The good times are where I'm going to soak that learning in and recover from the bad times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to build my strength. And then the next bad time is going to come. And I'm going to be back in learning and back in training. And then a good time's going to come. And now I'm going to take that learning, I'm going to let it suck in all the training I did. I'm going to recover and grow stronger. And over time, that's just like going to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to train really, really hard. I'm going to exhaust my system and my body. Then I'm going to go home and I'm going to eat and I'm going to recover from that system or from what I did in the gym. Then the next day, my body's going to grow stronger. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So how is life any different than in the gym?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's the stuff, like as a coach, that's the stuff that's exciting for me to get people to learn that. And then, and then teach people like, hey, when you got pissed off at your boss at work and you spent the whole day angry, do you know you messed up that cycle?
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of recovering and feeling good, you actually screwed your recovery up and you put your body in fight or flight because you were not at peace. You let your emotions take you over.
Mm-hmm.
So now, again, life and training are connected.
Absolutely.
That fight that you have with your wife or your girlfriend. And I mean, you think about all the bad training sessions in the gym. How many times did you have a bad training session in the gym because of what happened in your external life?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all tied together, and honestly, it all makes sense. Like, people get so angry about stuff, and I'm like, it's all right there. It's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, being a control freak, that was one of the reasons I learned all this stuff is when people showed me that by doing all these other things, I'm not really in control of it. If I'm going up and down, that's my fault. Nobody makes me feel anything. I'm in charge of it. So if I can keep myself at peace, I'm also taking control of my life and who I am. I'm not letting other people dictate it. If some schmo gets on my social media and says some crazy shit, I'm not letting that guy ruin my day. I'm not letting that guy ruin 1 minute of my life. Like, they can say whatever they want to say. I really don't care.
Yeah, I just got let go tattooed on my hand because I was trying to control everything. It's from Alan Watts, Let Go. Because you say if you breathe in and hold it, you lose your breath.
Mm-hmm.
But if you let it go, it comes back to you. So if you're constantly bound up trying to control everything, you lose your breath. Same thing. If you hold your breath and you don't want to let it go, you lose your breath. You can't breathe. So you have to let it go. And when you let it go, it comes back to you again.
Okay, so you're a movie guy. You know what I just thought of? The Green Mile.
The Green Mile.
He sucks that stuff in, but he's got to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And Master Sho Young, he says something similar where he has like the last one I saw, he holds up his beads and he has them swinging. And he goes, if you try to grab this and pull it to you, it's still trying to pull away from you. And if you let it go, it's eventually going to come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stop trying to hold on to everything.
Yep.
It's going to come and go, and it's going to have its ebbs and flows. And it's really true. And I don't remember if it was called the God's Prayer or whatever, but give me the strength to control what I can and the strength to let go of what I can't. Something along those lines.
Something like that. Yeah.
And it's true. And then again, it goes into powerlifting. Like, and I think in my last podcast, I talked about, I got one more to post. Maybe it was the last one I posted, talked about bombing out in meets. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. Don't hold that in. Don't hold that pissed off. I bombed out. I'm fucking judges or I overtrained, whatever. Like, just go, okay, I bombed out. Why did I bomb out? Can I understand why I bombed out? Cool. Now I have more information. It was a useful experience. I'm better now than I was when I came into this meet. Now let's take all that information and do way better the next meet.
I trained harder after a bomb out.
I didn't, because I really didn't. I mean, at first I hated it. I mean, there's I think I talked in the podcast, there's times where I trained in the warm-up room after I bombed out. Because I was so pissed off, I'm getting ready for the next one now, right now, which is completely stupid. But, I mean, so yeah, there was a time where I hated it, and then I had to understand it, like, listen, why? Like, I mean, yeah, there are times that you can use that anger. But if you're using it, you're not really holding on to it, you're using it. But I think you're better off going, okay, that sucked, that pisses me off. What can I learn from it? What can I take away from that? Mm-hmm. Okay, you know what I did wrong? I did my maxes 3 days before the fucking meet. That was probably dumb. Next time, I'm going to take my openers 2 weeks before the meet or 3 weeks before the meet. Personally, I'm saying 5 or 6, but, and I'm going to see how that goes. Mm-hmm. So like you carry the fact that I don't want to bomb again. You know, you got to carry it in a way that it's not going to hold you down, but lift you up. Mm-hmm. I didn't like that feeling. I'm going to remember that feeling because I don't want it again. But I know what I did wrong, and the next one, I'm going to get it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that stuff with the mindset's funny because it can be really tricky what you say and how you say it sometimes. And if you have a client who is really negative, they'll find a way to say something that almost seems positive, but it's not. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's fun because that's like a puzzle to me. I love figuring out what they're saying and what they're really thinking.
Yeah. Mr. Chad, it is my bedtime.
Yes, it's my dinner time. And I had my AC off.
You're sweating.
It's getting a little hot in here. It's time to get the AC back on. It's just so damn loud. I didn't want it running while we were doing it.
No, this was awesome. I love doing this.
I like talking. I like talking to you because we get like, I never know what's going to happen. Like, I mean, I had some ideas and some concepts, but I didn't want to like hold us to it. Because I think we just get on a path and we just start going, and I like where it organically goes. Like every one we've done, I get done and I'm like, dude, that was cool. Like, I mean, I'm smiling right now. Like like these are intelligent conversations to me. We're talking about cool stuff, and like these kind of talk you talk about, like these kind of talks get me more pumped up about powerlifting again.
Yeah,
because it's like, man, there's this whole deeper level. And that's the level that I love. That was the level that moved me into being a high level guy, was dipping down into that level and going deeper than what was on the surface. And that gets me excited. So
yeah,
I'm going to hit the outro here. We'll do it again. I mean, pretty much anytime you got something you want to talk about, I'm game.
Absolutely. I forgot. Kathy says hi.
Okay. Yes. Tell Kathy I said hi too. I still need to get that whole, man, when we did the last video, I mean, she had me convinced to do it. And I think that was when I was trying to begin this process and bought the land and stuff. And so money was always an issue. And I was going through my phone the other day and I have pages open for the people that do that head stuff.
Seiko? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still on my to-do list.
You really got to do it. I think it'll help.
I know there's people in Vegas now, so I know I can get it done down here. But right now, finances and getting this building built is my biggest priority.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good luck with that, sir.
Thank you for being on again. It was awesome.
All right. I appreciate it, man. You have a good night.
You too.
Later, Chad.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.